The Real Weather Watch is brought to you by DeKalb, unstoppable yield momentum.
What is the deal? We basically had 1 week of real winter so far.
That's it, huh?
Like, what's going on?
That's a good question. I think one of my first slides out there to the audience is to show it's actually a figure of hands that are around a cloud. It looks like God's hands, and I think that's really the answer. I really do believe that's it. God is in control, and that's all it is. But anyway, in reality, there's a lot of things going on right now that are really quite different in the atmosphere, and we're going to continue to be a little abnormal for a while. I think as we go into the latter days of winter, we'll finally start seeing some cool weather on a regular basis, and we'll probably also see a little more snowfall. But we're going to have some dry bias. When we get ready to go into the spring season, we already know that. I think everybody's aware the soil moisture is low, the precipitation bias is certainly not normal, so we're going to continue to be looking at precipitation that's below average, and the soil's not going to be abundantly moist either.
That has some implications then for agriculture.
Absolutely it does. I think as we go forward through the spring, we will see some timely precipitation. We're not going to be hurting that badly, except maybe in the northern part of Alberta and northwestern Saskatchewan. Those areas will probably miss most of the storm systems because the jet stream is going to be down into the states, and they're already dry up there. And so as long as we have some cooler bias conditions, which we will have in early spring, the jet stream is going to be heading in the wrong direction. So some of those areas in the north are going to be dry as we go into the season. But further south, near the U.S. border, certainly is going to have timely precipitation. We may actually see some good snowstorms a couple of times. So I think the odds are pretty good that we're going to do okay as time moves along. But then comes the latter part of spring and summer, and things will change again. We're going to have a ridge of high pressure that's going to build up in the states. It'll extend northward of the border, coming up into parts of Manitoba and southeast Saskatchewan, and the odds are pretty good then that we'll likely see some warmer and some more drier weather. There's going to be a period of a few weeks there in late spring, early summer, right at planting time, the latter part of the planting time, where precipitation is going to end up being fairly timely. And so we'll be able to make a last-ditch effort to get the crops in, and they'll go in. But there's going to be a lot of worry before we get to that point. And then, of course, once we're into the summer season, most of the western and central parts of Saskatchewan and eastern Alberta will probably see some regular occurring rainfall, more frequent than what a lot of people are expecting. It'll actually turn a little bit on the too wet side in some of those areas. But the southeast corner of Saskatchewan and Manitoba will probably see a drier bias, and that'll be with us for a bit. So some of the summer crops will probably be challenged a little bit over there.
So could this be one of those years where we do get maybe a little bit of winter, more like conditions into the late spring and summer?
I think there's potential that the earliest part of the spring for sure will have a bit more of a colder bias to it. So the temperatures will be below average when we get started. There will be a couple of snowstorms that will probably come around, and we'll probably be kind of beating our head against the wall a little bit, thinking, oh, why did this have to come so late? But still, we need that moisture. So if we can get it, and we get it in those few weeks that are available before planting, it will be okay. It'll be a good thing to have. But yeah, I think that there's a tendency. Anytime we've had 5 or 6 months of below average, warmer than normal temperatures, and you don't usually get that kind of a prolonged period of warm weather without a correction at some point. So it's either going to be a spring or spring and summer, but we're going to have some cooler biases around, and we can see that in the 18-year cycle. There's a tendency for a bit of a cooler bias in the spring and summer in all these other years that have occurred in the past, and there's similar situations. So I'd say the odds are fairly good right now that we'll probably have some coolness around. As far as late season frost and freezes, though, I can't get too excited about that because I think the ridge will be building up out then. So we'll have some precipitation, and we'll probably avoid that. But the early spring could be pretty nippy at times.